When we breathe in, our lungs expand, our diaphragm drops, and our heart contracts. This sends an incredibly speedy message up to the brain that then sends an incredibly speedy message back to the heart that says you must speed up. So it does. The reverse is true when we exhale. Our lungs compress, our diaphragm lifts, and our heart opens up. This sends an incredibly speedy message up to the brain that then sends an incredibly speedy message back to the heart that says you must slow down. So it does. Whatever messages are sent thereafter create the thoughts that we think, the emotions that we feel, and the actions that we take. If the breath sends signals of urgency, stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol will be released. That will make us feel sharp, focused, and alert. And we'll more likely be ready for action and to take action quickly. If the breath sends signals of relaxation, on the other hand, harmful hormones and neurotransmitters in the brain, such as dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, will calm everything down, reduce our baseline of stress, and open ourselves up to be more intuitive and creative. This is incredibly important because you may have experienced this yourself, I know I do, that when an emotion arises or a thought arises, it's very, very difficult to change that in the moment it's happening, especially if it's charged with all our personal stuff and in the moment, in the heat of the moment. So it can be very difficult to change those things as it's happening. But one thing that can be done, and often is a great tool to really change the quality of those emotions and thoughts, is to change the breath. So as I just said, when we speed the breath up, it sends these signals of stress and kind of urgency. So if in those moments there's a little bit of stress, anxiety, or just a little bit of hyperactivity in the brain, we can slow the breath right down, and this will then slowly, it will take time. There is a moment of pause in between, but over time, if the breath continues to slow down, we'll naturally relax and feel more peaceful. I know I use this breath whenever I'm speaking in public or when I'm in front of the camera, and it's just a great tool to use to relax the nervous system, open up the brain, let the brain communicate as one organism, and just allow the heart to be open and soft. So it's my number one tool for really being with the breath, allowing the heart and the brain to communicate as one, and the breath really is that secret connection between the two, and it can be a very powerful tool to enhance their communication. Posture is also very important. As I mentioned, when we inhale and exhale, the diaphragm lifts and rises. So the diaphragm really is the key mechanism in governing most of our body's functioning. It helps with digestion, it opens up and closes the heart on each and every breath, it signals to the brain. The vagus nerve, the beautiful vagus nerve, runs through the diaphragm, from the brain through the diaphragm to the gut. So every time the diaphragm moves, it's signaling these wonderful mechanisms in the body, in the nervous system, to really send communication up and down the spine to the brain and to the gut. So obviously posture is very important. If we're slouching, the full range of the diaphragm isn't so available. So keeping a nice straight spine, not like the Buddha, like straight, but straight enough where the diaphragm's free to move, and really to allow the diaphragm its full range of movement, to allow it to really work with all of these systems in the body, each organ, the digestive tract, the heart, the brain. It really is the connecting point, the center point in the body for it to allow all of these functions to be optimal. To know, there is a in pranayama and breathwork, there is a term called diaphragmatic breathing, and essentially it's just activating the diaphragm and really bringing about these systems. To know if you're diaphragmatically breathing, you really want to make sure your belly is pushing your hand out to the space in front of you. If your chest is rising first, it means you're breathing into the upper lobes of the lungs, and it's also okay. A lot of 60% of our lung capacity is in the lungs, so a large volume is in there. But to really enhance the full breath, which is 100% obviously, we really want to start in the belly, engage the diaphragm, and then bring the air into the lungs, and then really allow the oxygen uptake in the blood to happen, and for allow these systems to really function properly. So if you want to spend an extra A couple of seconds just breathing into the belly there. Always in through the nose, and either out through the mouth or out through the nose, but just kind of feel the breath as it moves through you. Another reason why this is so powerful is because a lot of mental health stuff can really happen from the breath. As I mentioned before, this is very much linked to the brain and the heart and the breath and the digestive system and lungs, and the whole thing is connected to one unified organism. So if our diaphragm, or where we breathe in the body, so if we breathe into the belly and engage the diaphragm and breathe in through the nose, these are key pillars of breath health. We can soothe anxiety and depression and other mental conditions that may occur. Because interestingly, the final 10% of the breath in the throat area, so it goes 30% in the belly, 60% in the lungs, and then 10% in the throat area, which is the full breath. So with anxiety, with high anxiety itself is stronger. The breath is stronger, and it's sometimes through the mouth. But really strong levels of anxiety that can lead to a panic attack, often are in the final 10% of the breath here. And you may have noticed it as well when people are in a panic attack, and it can really create a sense of suffocation, ironically. And this can cause more anxiety and more suffocation and more anxiety, and it's just a bit of a vicious cycle. It's often why people that are sobbing, they go and then release a let out a big sigh, because it just releases that energy and tension in the body. And we can do that. We can do that regardless of the day, the time, whether we're anxious or not anxious. And again, it just allows us to really release any tension from the body, from the breath, and effectively come into a calmer state. Andrew Huberman calls this the physiological sigh, which is not so easy for me to say. But it's the physiological sigh that we do roughly 4 times an hour-ish. Automatically, the body will do it automatically for us, but we can also do it ourselves. This is the joy of the breath. This is kind of automatic and also voluntary. We can change it, and it will also happen. So this is one way of doing that, and we can really, enhance the brain activity, enhance the heart, allow these systems to really function as they want to and as they can, which is to bring health and healing and flow and ease to our body. The opposite is when we hold tension, the breath becomes tighter and the nervous system becomes more alert and the brain becomes more alert with it, and the heart starts to contract or beat kind of out of rhythm. And all of these things then start to compound, and it becomes this kind of game of how much tension is going to be there before we run into a little bit of difficulty. So the breath really is a tool to kind of release any of that tension, come into a state of homeostasis, and just be able to be in a calmer body, a calmer mind. And that has wonderful benefits that are so easy to kind of feel in the moment. Let's bring it all together. Let's bring our awareness to the heart and the brain and the breath. This is why we're here. So let's do a little exercise that can really emphasize your day and bring clarity and get the blood circulation pumping and reduce blood pressure. There's so many benefits to this wonderful technique, and it's so available to us every single day, every single breath. There are 2 names that goes by. One is heart coherent breathing, the other one is rhythmical breathing. And essentially it's just breathing in a rhythm to allow the heart to really beat in its own pace. So we're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth through this technique. And we're just going to do a few breaths just to really feel what it's like. And then you can take this breath as many times as you want into the day, and you can carry it forward. But this really is the secret to the heart, brain, and breath. And it's one of my go-tos. I love it. It's so important in my day. It's a real anchor whenever I'm working, writing, recording, speaking in public. It's really that kind of go-to, and it's here always, as the breath always is. So take a nice straight spine, always for the diaphragm. Take a nice straight spine. Gently relax the jaw area and the muscles around the cheek area. Relax the shoulders and the hands. And then we're just going to take a nice deep inhale through the nose, first time, and then we're going to release that breath. So breathe in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Now we're going to breathe in a rhythm for in for 4 and out for 4, just for a few breaths. So in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, out. In, out. And just stay in this rhythm in your own pace. If 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out feels too much, try in for 2 seconds, out for 2 seconds, in for 3 seconds, out for 3 seconds. The rhythm itself doesn't really matter. As long as you breathe in a rhythm that's your rhythm, then the heart and the brain and nervous system will all kind of follow your lead and gently soften over time. If you're feeling really anxious, for whatever reason, then this could take upwards of a few minutes. So just really stay with the breath, stay with the body, stay with the sensations in the body. And it could take a little bit longer than just a few breaths that we practice there. But in day-to-day life, when just moving, maybe, when life is demanding a little bit of quickness in our day, the breath can stay steady and it can really anchor us into a slower way of being in the body. Doesn't mean the outside has to be slow. That can be really fast-paced, but our internal landscape is slow and calm. And that, for me, is the real goal between acting and thinking and speaking in a place of authenticity and openness and togetherness. So, may your day be blessed with this breath, and may your heart and brain communicate as one perfect orchestrated organism.